What's up everybody, welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, welcome to my channel. This is a recap of Teen Mom 2 Season 8, Episode 28. And so the episode kicks off with a couple of filler scenes before we get into a little bit of something, which is Leah and Jeremy throwing a joint birthday party for their daughter Addie for the first time since their divorce. Everything seemed to go absolutely amazing. Jeremy called the birthday party a perfect birth control for him as well, and lucky Addie got a hoverboard. I love how well Leah and Jeremy seem to be getting along these days. Something I noticed about the girls that I don't exactly love is that they'll always, like, when they're in a good mood and everything seems to be going okay, they'll always ask the kids, like, don't you just love it when mommy and daddy do X, Y, or Z together? Don't you love it? And so, like, obviously in the moment they think everything's going to be perfect for like forever. They're always going to be able to do this. It's amazing, and they get the kids' hopes up. But of course life happens, things change, people change, partners change, and you know, it doesn't work that way always. You know, I think the last time she did this was with Corey. Some of the other girls have done it as well. So it's like, just throw her little birthday party, you know, as a nice unit if you want to, and leave it at that. We don't need to do the whole, don't you love it when we do this? Would you love to see us do this every year? Not that she said the last part, but it kind of implies that. Anyway, moving right along, Kail heads over to Javi's house to watch Lincoln for him when he goes for a workout. When she got there, Javi seemed like very comfortable, like in his sweats, just sitting there. Like, it didn't seem like he was on his way to a workout or anything like that. And then it seemed like a thirst trap to like get her to come over so he could like flirt with her or something, and like remind her of the family unit that they once had. And when Lincoln was like, daddy's not going to work out, he just came back from working out, I like believed him for a long while, because Javi literally looked like he had no intention of getting his ass up out of that couch. Like, it was so funny, but ultimately he did end up going, and Kail watched Lincoln for him for the hour, which was quite nice. It's very interesting to see her complete 180 now that Briana is out of the picture. Guys, we finally see Jenelle with Ensley for the first time in like, what, 4 weeks? For a quick second before we pan over to Barbara talking to Janelle's brother Colin about Jace calling Jenelle and David pieces of shit. They talk about how Jace is, whenever he comes home from Janelle's house, they both agree that Jace is usually quite angry. Colin typically has to calm him down for a while, and then like he gets back to his normal self. And then he also says that they're not as close as they used to be. This time they didn't pin it on David, they just said in general that he and Jenelle are not as close as they once were. Like, apparently they used to bury rats together or something like that in the backyard. Barbara was not impressed that he brought that up on TV. And Jenelle used to like dress up as a boy, and he would like chop off her hair or something. Like, they seem to have like a cute brother and sister relationship that has changed over the following years. One thing I don't love is Barbara being high and mighty about like Jace when it comes to Jenelle. Barbara, you're batting 0 for 3 in terms of model like citizen children, and so, you know, for her to blame all of Jace's problems on Jenelle and Jenelle exclusively, it lacks a lot of introspection. I think that at a certain point, Barbara needs to kind of talk about all the issues that she caused for her children, outside of just like the domestic violence that they witnessed between her and an ex-husband. I think that Barbara has issues of her own that may also rub off on Jace. I mean, if you couldn't raise 3 out of your 3 kids properly, like, what's one more grandson? Next up, we're over in Atlanta for Kail's podcast. It is nice to see Kail do something that she loves, and something that like has to do with her degree. Like, I love seeing people find hobbies outside of the home, things that they're passionate about, and Kail seems to be passionate about media, and you know, why not, girl? Go enjoy yourself over there. So when she lands in Atlanta, she heads over to Leah's hotel room to pick her up, and the two of them then go out to dinner where they talk about what to expect on the podcast, and they also both admit to hooking back up with their second baby daddies, and they both also agree that they don't actually have feelings for the guys, and they don't think the guys have feelings for them. It's all just about, you know, familiarity. They wish it were simple enough that, you know, they could fall back in love with these people and just have 2 baby daddies instead of Kail potentially having a 4th and Leah potentially having a 3rd. What was probably my favorite part of the scene was when Kail was talking about like vacationing in Hawaii. She invites Leah to go on vacation with her in Hawaii, and she's like, oh, I need a vacation so badly. I haven't been on one since Lux was born, and Lux is almost like 1. So you haven't been on vacation in almost 1 year. Like, and she acted like it had been so long since she'd been on vacay. Chillax, girl, you'll be fine. Like, you can wait the extra like couple of months to go away to Hawaii. In Briana land in Florida, like she said earlier in the episode, the last straw for her and like any thought of ever getting back together with Javi was him running to do Kail's podcast literally like the second that they broke up. And so she's driving around and she calls her friend to tell her about Javi flipping out over the fact that she told him that she did not want him to come to Miami and wipe their asses anymore. He's like, whoa, 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 who's gonna be doing it then? And so she let him know that it was gonna be another ex of hers. I think his name was Dre or something like that. And Javi literally apparently said that he doesn't want anybody else wiping his girl's ass or running her a bath and all of this other possessive shit, as if this isn't the same guy who was just flirting with his ex-wife a couple of scenes ago, and also as if this isn't the same guy who almost immediately after their breakup started banging his ex-wife again. Like, how absolutely hypocritical could one person be? And what does he mean? His girl Bri already broke up with him not too long ago. He already admitted as such on Kail's podcast. Meanwhile, in Chelsea land, Cole gets his hair cut and it looks really nice, so he goes and picks up some flowers for Aubree for their father-daughter dance, a corsage and a bouquet, as well as I think a stuffed animal. It was super cute. Aubree's school is so big on like including the parents in like day-to-day life. I've never really seen anything like that. Like you know, they invite the parents to go to have lunch with the kids at least once a week or something like that. They have these father-daughter dances. It's quite sweet how like involved their school is. This doesn't seem to be the case for anybody else's school, and it's not the case for any school that I went to or like that a lot of my friends or any of my friends went to either. Back in Janelleville, she and her friend are out and about talking about Jace and the custody situation. Apparently Jace gets to decide when he's 10 years old where he wants to live, and I feel really, really bad for him because I know that Jenelle is probably trying to force his opinion into wanting to live with her and David, even though that's pretty clearly not what he wants, and like all he's ever known is Barbara. And so I don't think Barbara is pushing Jace to stay with her, even though like she's putting out the energy that she wants him to stay with her forever. I feel like this is a really, really stressful thing for him, and he's coming up on 10 really, really quickly. Is that not like next year for him? Like really quickly. So I'm scared, you know, even for what happens if he does choose to stay with Barb. Like, how will Jenelle and David treat him, like knowing that that's what he chose and that's what's going to be publicized? Like, it might be even worse than what it is now. And then if he chooses Jenelle and David just to appease them, what is day-to-day life going to be like for him? And like, he's gonna have to be ripped out from his school as well in order to live with them, because the swamp is far out of his district. Like, there's no winning for him in this case, and it's heartbreaking to see. Of course, Jenelle is claiming to her friend Jamie that she never tries to sway Jace one way or the other or anything like that, but of course Barbara is probably trying to do that on her hand, and it's just pure unadulterated BS if you ask me. So back in Florida again, I got serious hair envy looking at Nova's beautiful head of hair. Ugh, I live whenever that girl comes on screen. So Devoin pops up at the apartment offering to take care of Nova while Briana's off to Miami getting her ass reduced. Was anyone else quite pleasantly surprised at how easily Brittany and Roxanne took this, like considering how much strain they typically cause on Bri's co-parenting relationships? I was like, oh, like they're happy with this, and this is so good of Devoin to want to do for his own daughter and to get to spend, you know, more time with her as well, because of course they won't let him spend time with her outside of the apartment, and so this is the only way, and he is absolutely taking that L in order to be more present in her life, and it was quite beautiful to see. Now we're back in ATL again, where Kail and Leah are talking a bit about how they don't really keep in touch with the other girls as much as you would think. Apparently Kail only talks to Chelsea sometimes. Of course she doesn't talk to Jenelle at all, or Briana at all either, unless they're beefing over Puppy. And then the two of them claim that they don't really need to be in relationships to be happy. They're fine just alone, which is quite crazy to me because these are the two most like relationship jumping women on the show. Like Leah, not so much these days, but in her early days, Leah would always be in some kind of relationship, whether it was Robbie or Corey or Robbie again, or Jeremy, back to Corey, back to Jeremy again. Like she was always in, and then TR, she was always in some mess. And Kail to this day is always laid up under somebody. Back to Jenelle again. This time she's driving herself and Jace back from therapy, and she immediately starts shitting on Barbara after claiming to never do that in the scene just before this, right? And then Jace sees like a flyer for like the NRA, and so he's like, oh, what's this? And he actually calls her mommy, which I bet was pretty difficult for him. He's like, mommy, what's this? And she goes, why, son, that is a poster from the National Rifles Association. Creepy smile. They go by NRA, creepy smile. And then she's like, I support gun rights. And it was just so, like, there's nothing wrong with like supporting this or whatever, but just her smile throughout the scene was like really eerie. And so the two of them go out for lunch on a pier, and she's talking about how she wants to do it more often. It's like, who the heck is stopping you? You get your child every once in a while, except when you've got spring break and don't want to see him, or a Kesha concert and don't want to see him. So why not take him one-on-one for lunch dates? He's like damn near a decade old, and this is like new and unusual for you. Like, take that L. And then she was just so weird, and like the smiles throughout lunch. And then after lunch, she takes him on the dock for a walk, and she goes, do you like it here, Jace? I used to come here all the time when I was little, which is funny because a couple seasons back, she claimed that Barbara never did anything for her, never took her nowhere, never bought her nothing. And now here we are reminiscing on things we used to do all the time when we were little with who? Barbara. All right, you guys, now we're winding down to the final two scenes of the episode. The first one's pretty quick. It's Leah and Kail shooting the podcast. Lindsay is there in Atlanta with them as well. And it was really interesting to me that Leah suddenly decided to play dumb about the fact that she hooks up with Jeremy. It's like, girl, did you forget you already admitted to it on camera? Just say yes and keep it moving on the podcast, because the listeners would have found out anyway via this episode of Teen Mom 2, right? So Jeremy calls in and then acts all like coy, which was weird because apparently he's the one who asked to call in. So it's like, why did you put it on speakerphone knowing that it was an interview that was going to ask you about your ex-wife and you've got your child with you? Like, come on, common sense. It was just a mess in terms of his participation in the thing. They asked him if he thinks about getting back together with Leah, and again, he plays dumb, even though we saw a couple episodes back, he's the one who asked her what she thought about getting back together. He's also the one who asked her on a date. Like, I don't get why people do that. Like, we've got all the receipts we need on you. Just fess up to your BS. In the final scene of the episode, Briana is all packed up and ready to drive on over to Miami with her friend to get their little booties fixed. And as she's leaving, she like gives everyone goodbye kisses, blah, blah, blah. And then Roxanne forcefully grabs her face and literally makes out with her as if it's a scene out of The Notebook or something. I was disgusted. Like, we talk about this woman's lack of boundaries, but at this point, I was disgusted. I absolutely hate when people do this to their kids. It's flat out gross, you know, like, that disturbed me for so long. Just revisualizing it at this point is giving me like the shakes. So as they're driving on their way to Miami, Briana reveals that Javi called her begging to still be able to come and wipe their asses, and she said that she shut that SHIT down and called him desperate. Like the stage 5 he is, Javi shows up to the doctor's office, even though Briana explicitly told him that she did not want to see him there. To me, this is stalker behavior. This is like some kind of psychological, like, no one wants to be going under like such a serious surgery and have like someone that they really don't want to be present for it just like disregard their feelings about all of that and show up. Like, that's so disrespectful. It's scary, honestly. He shouldn't have done that. It was not a good look for you, Poppy. But you guys, that wraps up the 28th episode of this season of Teen Mom 2. And as usual, I'm more excited to hear what you have to say about everything. So please make sure to leave all of your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below, and we'll chat. You can also like this video, subscribe for more. Feel free to share it with your friends as well, and follow me across social media, where I absolutely love chatting with you. That's all for now. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.